All right, a very good morning and welcome back. You're still watching Morning at NTV. For those that went with us into the break, we are now going into our Kickstarter segment, and we are going to be looking at one of the stories making headlines across the country and particularly unsettling in the corridors of power. Yesterday, Parliament revealed that a law is in place right now, and very controversial indeed, because it seeks to criminalize the dealing, consumption and sale of khat. I'm just trying to be able to get on top of this matter as presented by the dailies here, because we're going to have a discussion as I introduce my guests. Honorable Christopher Komakech, Member of Parliament, Aruu County. Most welcome.
Thank you so much.
I hope I pronounced Aruu right.
Very well, perfect.
Very well. What does Aruu mean?
Aruu, morning, bright morning. The morning has come and the dawn has ended.
Has the morning come in the
morning in the county? Sure, it has.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. We're also joined by lawyer Isaac Ssemakadde. You are an advocate.
Yes, Chris.
Yeah. One thing I know is a lawyer is one who hasn't been called to the bar. Is that so? I may be wrong.
That is correct.
Okay. You're most welcome.
Thank you very much, Chris. Nice to be back at NTV Morning with you.
All right. There's a lot to banter on, but exploring policies regarding khat and marijuana beneath Parliament's need to regulate these two. Honourable Member of Parliament, bring us up to speed with what happened yesterday, the implications of this particular legislation, and what the pain points are.
There was an act that was repealed and thrown out of a few of the legislations that were already made by Parliament and sent by the President. That means we had again to come up with a new bill and we send it back. You see, Uganda has an obligation to United Nations Convention on Drug Trafficking. When you throw out such a law, it leaves us in a blink. So Parliament had to do its role, and that's one of the principles that Parliament had to go for. We did not change a lot of the principles in the former law. That's why you saw the Speaker ordering the committee to harmonize with the Minister of Health, because they had almost changed the principles of the initial bill, and that we have achieved. But also in the bill, we have recommended the allocation of funds for treatment of persons who have challenges with use of narcotics and psychotropic drugs. We have also recommended that every region in Uganda gets to have a regional rehabilitation treatment center for management of these persons. One fact I want the viewers to understand is that this bill is far away from solving the problem of managing addiction in the country, because coming up with rules and legislation doesn't lead to managing addiction in the country. What manages addiction? One, giving the rightful information to the people that they know, and this bill has awakened many Ugandans to know what's marijuana, what's khat. People picked interest in that, so we created a platform for everyone to know. Before it was for a few, the users knew, the ones who are benefiting commercially knew, but ordinary Ugandan didn't know what was in those drugs. Then, other than the information, we are looking at the treatment. We have had rehabs coming up from everywhere, mushrooming. This one comes up with the herb. I can treat an addict of alcohol, of marijuana. Another one comes up. No, I have this drug maybe from Kenya. Another one comes on an implant. We are saying, can we come up with a treatment regimen, the way you manage malaria, so everyone knows that if I have this problem, this way I go, and this is how I can manage this problem. It's also part of the management. But then we are calling upon parents to take charge, because no one is going to take the leeway charge. However, we are putting strict regulations on the control and regulation of cultivation of marijuana, and there will be a commission in place. One thing we have done, the person in charge mainly right now it's not the Minister of Internal Affairs, it's now the Minister of Health coming in, if you're following.
All right, that's interesting perspective there. And of course, I just have to be clear that the President is yet to put pen to paper. In other words, he's due to assent to it. We shall be waiting for that. Allow me ask Advocate Isaac Ssemakadde, when you listen to the Member of Parliament, what you see is a one-sided perspective and how legislation is going. There is a look at the detrimental aspects of consumption, sale, and cultivation of narcotics, especially in this regard, khat and marijuana. However, there are proponents of the business case for this that have also spoken out on why it should be allowed that people can cultivate, people can consume in a regulated environment some of these products. What is the state of affairs from your point of view?
Well, listening to Honorable Komakech made me smile a bit when he said that the making of this bill has promoted public awareness of marijuana. No, it hasn't. With great respect. The processing of this bill has been a shocking display of ignorance and prejudice, not only against cannabis, what he referred to as marijuana, wrongly, and khat, also known as Miraa or Mairungi in Uganda, and the botanical name is Kata edulis. I criticize the current Parliament in this regard for two major reasons. The first is, as you correctly stated, failure to take a holistic outlook to these two, button. What did you call it? Sticking points, of the issue of this bill. In this bill, the business case was not properly understood. It will not be understood here in this country for a long time. I've had him, for instance, I don't know if Honorable Komakech, you are aware that cannabis has two varieties. It has a intoxicant and non-intoxicant varieties.
Sure.
And the bill doesn't make that difference. It lumps up, this it looks at cannabis purely as an intoxicant and evil, plant that should be treated with all sorts of violence and like I said, prejudice. Yeah. So these two plants have had their image tarnished in Uganda for a long time, and the bill hasn't changed that image. Would you like me to speak to the business case immediately?
I will be asking you about the business case a little bit later, but right now I want us to understand the context within which this particular law has been passed. MPs seem to be working towards addressing what are arguably and evidently detrimental aspects when it comes to unregulated and wayward consumption of khat and marijuana. If you were to address yourself, for example, to the fact that many youth across the country might find themselves affected when they consume in quantities that are not regulated of some of these products, wouldn't you love to see their own health and well-being being safeguarded?
The problem with lawmaking in Uganda is that it ceases to solve real problems. It's not that there was no law, or that there were no institutions to help youth in challenged with addiction. It's just that there was lack of political will
to enforce
to
regulation,
to recognize that their youth, as you said, and older people as well,
and older persons, yeah, sure,
who are challenged with addiction and need to be treated humanely to recover and regain their resilience and re-entry to normal productive life. So the question is, why didn't we build these institutions? Or if we have them, why didn't we stock them? The current law, yes, it looks good in that regard, and progressive in saying that we shall take rehabilitation seriously. However, when you look at the entirety of the law, you can't help but wonder whether they are serious, because what Honorable Komakech hasn't told you is that they have excessively focused on criminalization. That is the treatment of users, even of the smallest quantities, as the worst criminals in the country. Okay. And so they will pass through, they will only be processed through the criminal system. They won't receive the rehabilitation that he's talking about. All right,
we shall be seeking to understand the business case, like I said, but a little bit later. I'm glad you bring about the aspect of the criminalization, as you say, and then the fact that there won't actually be rehabilitation. The offense, for example, for a person who smokes, inhales, or sniffs a drug without lawful excuse is 1 billion Uganda shillings, which under law is 50,000 currency points, or to be jailed for a period not exceeding 10 years. Honorable, a person who smokes, inhales, or sniffs this drug without lawful excuse is more like the guy you find at the corner sniffing at it, looking usually unable to even afford a lot more than what that can bring to him in terms of a feel-good effect. 1 billion Uganda shillings. A member of parliament must have suggested this 1 billion. Was it you? As fine.
When parliament passes a bill, it sees as being a one person's bill. It's for the entire house. 1 billion, it's at the discretion of the judge. A maximum of 1 billion. But obviously, the judges seated on the benches are not robots. They will look at Komakech. How much can Komakech afford? Maybe 50,000, or 1 million, or 2 million. It's at the discretion of the judge. Because what we really want to do is to take on the work of the judges, and we will not whatsoever way take on. But we are telling them, at least let it be within a span of that much to this law. However, there's a caption they don't capture there. The part that says that for lack of a better word, I'm looking for a kind, I don't want to use addict. That person challenged with the use of drug has to go under treatment. Detoxification, and when we talk of treatment, that's detoxification. Then we have a psychotherapy and rehabilitation center, and rehabilitation. That will take 3 months. Leave alone the punishment. We are also advocating for the treatment. We are actually asking the ones who haven't gone to swim, who don't know how to swim, that you look, there is a 1 billion charge on you, but then there is forced treatment for you if you are gotten in usage. Let me bring you to space on the problem we are trying to solve. No one ever wants to get lost in the whole drama of drugs. No one, no youth wants. But in a country where we have 78% of the population are youths, from the 45 million, let me tell you, 45 million so people in Uganda, 35 million and so are youths. And these are youths within the age of 18, 24, up to 28. Now, addiction per se attacks youths below the age of 25. I'll tell you, Chris, you can get addicted in whatsoever way. If you are to use marijuana right now, or khat, even alcohol, there's no way you'll get addicted, because that's not the psychology of the brain. the center of the brain that leads to addiction, that's the limbic system, protects you to the age of, from the age of 25 and above. And that will explain to you why you'll find a young girl, a young boy of 18 years committing suicide when the boyfriend has gone. And Komakech, like me, who's above 25, when my girlfriend leaves today, I'll jump onto another one. So that's the span we are trying to create. And it would be fair that we look at the youth. This is a condition. And when I talked of information, I was surprised that majority of Ugandans did not have a clue that someone who has a problem or a challenge and has been diagnosed with a challenge of addiction, that person will not recover, but will struggle to attain recovery up to the day.
Allow me gain clarity, especially with regard to the standpoint of Advocate Isaac Ssemakadde. You are advocating for regulation and control, proper use. Where do you stand in terms of the controversial products here? This is the narcotics and specifically khat and marijuana, because I want that to inform my next question. That is business-like.
Thank you very much, Chris. But permit me very briefly to highlight a very disturbing contradiction in what my good friend Honorable Komakech has been talking about. With the left hand, they offer the olive branch of rehabilitation, but with the right hand, they smash the person turning up voluntarily for rehabilitation
with a 1 billion shilling fine.
With a 1 billion shilling fine. So I wonder, I wonder how then this bill is going to promote voluntary rehabilitation. You know, because he's speaking of the concept. So will health workers be required to report on their patients as you know, suspects for your criminal law enforcement? The truth of the matter is that this bill has been written with a backward-looking lens, in the sense that in Uganda, where lawmaking in this particular regard was not motivated by any data, meaningful data, they have created an incarceration problem for themselves. In fact, they have exacerbated an existing incarceration problem. Because the police routinely, the people he's talking about, below 25, they are some of the most vulnerable people, and they are routinely cannibalized by the police, which picks upon them and throws them into jail, and they can't get out. And they have these, now, these are gross felonies, you know? So they have created that problem for themselves, and they will have to solve it at some time.
Have you addressed yourself to the conditions that afflict the youth, or those that are deemed to be victims of malconsumption of narcotics in the country? Do you appreciate the problem?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And my point, the point I'm trying to make is that if you truly understand the characteristics of the Ugandan problem, you wouldn't address it with such, you know, an atrocious, you know, bill like this.
I'll quickly take us through how it should be addressed.
First and foremost, as I said, I don't think that they have made it very clear that rehabilitation can be sought voluntarily.
Okay.
Okay.
We don't have the detail.
I don't think that they have made it very clear. I don't think they have not indicated in the bill a process called diversion, a legal process called diversion, where the police person or the justice, law and order sector people will have the discretion to divert some people from the most agonizing form of, you know, criminal processing, and divert them, for instance, to voluntary rehabilitation instead of treating them as criminals. No, they don't have that, and so it won't happen.
Honorable, that's a valid point. Have you addressed yourself to the fact that before somebody could be criminalized But is there a process of diversion, as he says? Can the system allow for a person to know that, yes, I'm addicted, I have mal-consumed this particular product?
Even for the police officer to say, I have not picked a drug lord, I have picked a victim of a drug problem. Okay? They are going to treat all victims as victimizers, which is absurd.
Help us.
I want to thank my land fellow, and I will bringing out that contention. But then we are trying to move. Should we sit back? Before we criminalize Chris for usage of khat or marijuana, there has always been a call. There is a national rehabilitation center and a national rehab in Butabika.
Which Chris
it's voluntary.
Which Chris Higenyi might not have access to.
Now, this is the information we want, the Minister of Health. You know, before, the Minister of Health has not been in charge. He has been the Minister of Internal Affairs. Right now, if you read through that bill, we are revoking almost 80% of the powers from the Minister of Internal Affairs, to the Minister of Health. And currently, I can assure you, as long as the President assents, and I know he will assent to that bill, Honorable Acheng, the doctor, the minister, is going to take control. And that particular sect, they'll have to set up a commission that's going to handle the regulation, control, and rehabilitation of persons having problems.
That's where the sticking point of diversion is going to be handled?
That's where it's going to be handled, mainly. But then, Butabika National Referral is mandated to treat anyone voluntarily. They are not supposed to get involved in the enforcement of abuse of marijuana. They are mandated to treat. We did extensive research. One of the reasons why they threw out the former bill was there wasn't extensive research then. Right now, I can assure you, the committee met with the Butabika team, headed by the director, Dr. Nako. The committee met with the Miraa, Wakiso Miraa Association growers. The committee met with the consumers. Everyone was involved in this for us to come up with. All we are asking Ugandans is, let's have a starting point. Well, should we sit back and wait? This generation is faced with khat and marijuana. The former generation, it was tobacco. There was an initial generation, before.
Interesting.
Let me test you. How did we get into marijuana? No, Chris, the generation of our grandparents, it was tobacco, purely tobacco. That was it. Marijuana was unheard of, mainly. But marijuana kept on growing. This generation, it's not tobacco. It's marijuana and khat. Should we sit back in this generation and watch an entire generation flip away?
Where is alcohol in all this? Because
nice question.
Many times.
No, this is a narcotic. No, when we talk of narcotics and psychotropics, alcohol control bill is coming.
Chris,
yes, please.
It's not fair to make such a grand narrative about the history of our,
challenges and
of our parents and grandparents, this generational problem
vis-a-vis drug usage,
vis-a-vis drug usage, and with such a fine-tooth comb, as we have said. I mean, it's cannabis and khat have been part of the Ugandan story, just as tobacco and alcohol, as you have said, and we should not create narratives that suit particular interests of lawmakers like you for the time being. I don't think it's fair.
All right, gentlemen, I want to understand the business case. But one thing I am sure about, given my own assessment and observation, is that this particular legislation is informed and premised on the fact that the business case for these products is huge.
You talked of alcohol. This parliament is not adamant about alcohol. There is alcohol control bill coming. It might be tomorrow, it might be next week.
Alcohol does pretty much the same things that khat and marijuana does. There are people who are addicted to alcohol and are grappling with all sorts of disorders.
I'd want to, with valid research, 80% of people who use alcohol do not get addicted.
80%
alcohol.
of people who?
20 to 10% do. That's not true with narcotics.
Do you have research,
There
for
is
example,
research,
evidence
it's there.
to suggest that those who use khat
It's
and
there.
marijuana...
It's the World Health Organization has the report on there.
World Health
but
Organization
then
is
also
working outside the confines here.
We all fall in that, and that data is in Butavika too. But then to bring you to speed, alcohol functions in a different way. We are talking of cannabinoids. That's marijuana. And alcohol is in the OH it's in the OH family. Alcohol you drink, it goes to the liver. Liver breaks the alcohol, then it hits your brain. With marijuana, you smoke, it diffuses to the brain directly. So these are two different transport mechanisms.
I won't go into the medical aspects of it because I don't have that particular ability to make my way around. Neither do you as lawmakers. But let's stick to what is the impetus of this particular talk. Cultivation of these specified plants requires a license from the Minister for Health with first-time offenders. Okay, this is something else. But I'm talking about the license. The business case for khat and marijuana is huge. There's a lot of money in there. Sure. And some elements are saying this law is designed to ring fence the returns and profits from cultivation and sale of these products. Is it so? Isaac Ssemakadde?
Quite so, quite so. The first bill was written in 2015. Gazetted in 2016. It was nullified in 2023, this year. So for the 7 years of the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act, Section 11 therein gave the Minister of Health powers to license select applicants who had a strong business case for growing, say, cannabis, for having cannabis farms, especially for the limited reason called medical marijuana, which I think is now globally understood to be a positive intervention. Unfortunately, the minister did not make any regulations in 7 years. That means the minister blocked this opportunity for all interested applicants. To add insult to injury, Ugandans saw the head of state fly to Kasese and launch an enterprise.
The one by the Israelis?
Yes, the one allegedly by the Israelis, Industrial Hemp Limited. And this was shocking and disturbing. Apart from the plain and obvious discrimination, it was a slap in the face for all other, eligible Ugandans and foreigners who would have liked to take advantage of Section 11. So we don't now the status of that enterprise in Kasese and any others, because if the president could commission one, it goes without saying that probably there are others which were maybe not commissioned, but the president green-lighted the growing of cannabis for medical marijuana purposes. And other farms are known to exist with licenses probably issued in secrecy. So this is the 7-year history of the old law. I don't know what special backstops have been put in the new law to prevent that kind of ring fencing. I can tell you that there is none, and the ring fencing regime will continue.
Honorable, what I hear Isaac Ssemakadde saying is that you are complicit as Parliament in ensuring that the cultivation and sale of some of these narcotics should be left to investors who come into the country under dubious circumstances and seem to be having godfathers, and that the discussion or the narrative that's being pushed, saving the youth against addiction, is one that is simply being fronted.
The same Parliament has a bill known as the local content bill. We are trying to promote our local content in that bill. So I don't think that would be right But let's understand, I want viewers to appreciate that there is a lot of dirty money, blood money in this industry of marijuana and khat. That is there. We can't run away from it.
And
everyone is looking for
the
it.
law is trying to protect
The law is trying to
those
protect
who are profiteering from it.
No, the law is not doing that.
There are elements.
Now, the marijuana that is being cultivated in Uganda, the industry cultivating marijuana from Israel is cultivating marijuana for medicinal use. Those are two different things. There's marijuana for recreational use. My landfellow here said it earlier. In marijuana, there are two components. There's the addictive part of it. That's the THC. That's in it. What this industry is doing, they get the best variety of marijuana seeds, cultivate it in a controlled environment, greenhouse, controlled thermal temperature, controlled amount of water, controlled wherever they're going to use by specialists, not just a who or do say person who comes and say I've planted marijuana.
Your term speaks of the fear that average Ugandan investors might not perhaps have the expertise to grow this in the conditions that's supposed to be grown.
It's not the fear, it's the reality. We do not have the expertise.
Then
in
why
Uganda
haven't
currently,
you addressed the narrative to be exactly on the fact that many people want to be cultivators, they want to be dealers, but don't have the capacity to do this in a way that will not be detrimental.
They have been denied the legal framework.
Alliances to cultivate marijuana.
They have been denied the legal framework.
Alliances to cultivate marijuana currently ranges from 600, I think, to 1
Please, there is no legal framework. Those figures, you're picking them. You get respect.
Where is the legal framework?
From the sky.
There is a commission that was set in the Ministry of Health.
Honorable Komakech, please do not embarrass yourself. There is nothing like a legislated framework.
Can I continue?
There are over 100 pending applications that have been shelved for 7 years.
The bill.
True or false?
The bill, that's true.
Okay.
But then this commission is supposed, you know, when you want alliances, not that everyone who comes to get alliances will be given alliances. It's not true. They will wait. Do you have the capacity? Do you have the finance?
When you apply for license, you must get a decision. And have there been decisions on licensing?
Decisions, they have been made by the minister.
Have there been decisions?
Just that I'm not.
Because I'm a lawyer. Minister. If I have a client with a decision that has been rejected, we have a system of judicial review. All the minister's power is subject to a judge's authority.
If there is any person
the
who has
point
been
is that there has been no decision.
Let him complete
anyone who has been denied the licenses, we have not had any complaint from
you have not been interested to understand.
If they do, as a member of parliament,
all right,
we
simple. Let me ask
voices.
this question: how many people do you know of that have been denied a license to cultivate, deal, and sell khat and marijuana?
The Monitor newspaper has been very consistent in giving these figures. They've been showing pending applications since the 2016 Act.
Can you share notable ones? Has Wakiso Miraa Growers and Dealers Association, how many
they applied
are
for
working
license,
under the aegis of this?
They applied for a license to under Section 11, and they've even never received an acknowledgement from the minister that the application has been received and is being processed.
What kind of farms are operated under Wakiso Miraa Growers and Dealers Associations? Are these backyard gardens, or is it something like a 4-acre piece of land that has this particular plant?
Thank you, Chris. Maybe then I should tell you that unfortunately khat has caught strays in this whole business, in this whole lawmaking process. Khat, or Mairunji, has been, for the first time in Uganda's legal history, classified in the same family as cannabis, as opium.
Khat is not a narcotic.
And all these narcotics. Khat is not a narcotic.
We are saying it's a prohibited drug.
It's
We are not saying it's a
prohibited
drug.
drug.
In the bill, we are saying
in the bill.
Khat, we are
so they are calling it
it's prohibited, but it's not a narcotic.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's not. However, it functions like a narcotic.
See?
Now,
Now that's where the contention issue was.
Now the thing is,
it is not a narcotic.
It's a prohibited
but
drug.
Functions like a narcotic. It's a prohibited drug. Why is it a prohibited drug?
Let me come there. Can I come there?
Please continue.
If you walk like a duck, you quack like a duck, then you are a duck.
Shocking display of ignorance
let me
and
go
prejudice.
now. I'm bringing it. Myrona.
These are the lawmakers.
This is our.
Just a moment.
This is our Myrona.
Just a moment. Hold your guard.
In Myrona, there are cannabinoids that affect the brain. The same cannabinoids are in khat, however, at a low potency. Now, what we are trying to fight, we are fighting Myrona, but we are saying khat is a gateway drug. I know of people who use khat, then add cigarette, then we'll put maybe some bit of liquor, then later on a bad day, that's on a good day, on a bad day, the boss has backed at him, he has no money, he has gotten a catastrophe, he upgrades to marijuana. I don't know of anyone who has left marijuana, then come to alcohol. I don't know of anyone who has left marijuana, then come to khat. So what are we doing? We are saying if we are fighting khat, if we are fighting marijuana, and you are leaving this person, the gateway, the person who helps, the person who leads to
when you speak of gateways,
out,
can't alcohol be a gateway?
No,
to the
alcohol is not a gateway. The system, the functionality system of alcohol is so different. I said that before. Alcohol, it's a OH. It's not a carbonate. Now, we don't want to go medical.
Okay,
and,
no, yeah,
we try to
you are family in the medical terrain.
I am.
That's because he's
I'm
also
saying this because I'm a medical personnel. Yeah. That's why I'm going into it and I've treated. Now, with alcohol, it's in the OH family. You drink it. You do not smoke it. This one you are going to chew. When you chew, it imitates. And you disguise it.
Are you suggesting that alcohol cannot in any way influence your consumption of any other drug?
I'm telling you, there's no way you'll find,
because you refer to khat as a gateway drug.
There is no way. Actually, they're never even friends. And they get an addict who drinks alcohol and an addict who smokes marijuana. Try me, they are two different people. The one who uses marijuana is sharper. That's true. That's true. The one who drinks alcohol these are two different communities. Have you ever?
Sharpness.
Yeah, it comes.
One thing I know and I've heard from experts is that consumption of marijuana enhances your nervousness and awareness of your environment.
True.
Is that what you call sharpness?
Yeah, that's what I'm calling sharpness in a layman's language.
Wow.
However, for a limited time. A limited time.
All right.
A limited time. Later on, you lose it.
Give me the business case for khat. How much money are we making that MPs must look at this and allow for the cultivation, sale to be done by any Ugandan who has the capacity to do it?
Khat is a cash crop. It has a better farm to market story than coffee, than tea, and many other beverages in the same family. Khat is intercropped.
I'm learning it's a beverage.
Yes, it's a beverage. Khat is intercropped with with food crops on the same acre. It's unlike coffee, which probably takes about 4 years or something to start to produce. Khat has an annual. It grows within a year and gives you product. It gives you fresh shoots and leaves pretty much every week. You just pluck this and supply. The khat market is largely not in Uganda. It's in the region. It's in Kenya, it's in Somalia, it's in the Middle East.
So that means we are doing a lot of exportation of khat.
Yes.
I'll need some figures a little bit later so I can have my hand on it.
Yeah, thank you. The problem you have is that khat has suffered since the 1994 law that came into place. That's the law that set up NDA. The law was quite vague. It gave NDA ability to power to control the cultivation, sell and dealing in narcotics. And since then, the anti-narcotics unit in the police decided on its own to classify.
It has mandate.
No, it doesn't. The mandate is for NDA. So, but the narcotics unit in police classified khat as a narcotic and started to enforce khat, to enforce, you know, prohibition on khat even before these laws were made. So that means that the government,
very quickly,
the government did not collect data. So the Uganda Investment Authority, the Uganda Export Promotion Board did not collect data. They did not schedule khat as one of Uganda's cash crops. So the khat dealers and the major routes, for instance, are Elegu in northern Uganda and the DRC route. For instance, khat dealers are banned from the airport.
They can't go through Entebbe.
They can't go through Entebbe. You can imagine, yet in Kenya, in Meru, they have just built for them a khat-specific runway. You know?
Honorable, have you had
this is what this is the investment in Kenya.
Kenyans are making money more than we are?
Yeah. So
building runways.
And yet they are grumbling and striking every day and morning. And Ugandans, we haven't gone on the streets running up here and there.
Well, I mean,
let's face the facts. If they are making more money,
let us
what would be in that world?
Let us move away from prejudice and ignorance of the kind. So have you gotten the point? I can give you data.
I would suggest you guard your language, especially when it comes to the employee of the word ignorance. He's an honourable member of parliament, and many times.
But there are strikes in Kenya over commercial issues.
All right.
So I think you get the point. There is no correlation between khat use and strikes. But let's continue.
All right. No, I'm afraid.
So you don't have the data because of the long history of a tarnished image.
Isaac Ssemakadde, I'm afraid we're going to have to end this discussion because I have overshot my time.
Just 1 minute.
I'm sure there's a lot that we can banter on and chew on rather after this particular segment. Isaac Ssemakadde, many thanks for making time, and many thanks to you too, Honourable Christopher Komakech, on enlightening us on exactly what is going on with regard to laws around the cultivation, consumption and sale of narcotics. We'll be right back. Priscilla Regina Naloga shall be at hand.